Weight loss plateaus. Are you actually stuck? Let's talk about it. All right. Okay. So yeah, I just checked in, or I just read a check-in from a client who seems to be plateaued for the last 2-ish or so weeks. So this kind of had me thinking, I want to do a video on this one because this is a topic that you see a lot. And I think there's a lot of kind of misinformation when it comes to this topic. And I just want to lend a little bit of guidance on what I do with my individual clients when we're talking about being stuck with weights, plateauing, et cetera, et cetera. And also kind of deciphering, is that a word? Or, just kind of figuring out and auditing, are we actually plateauing, which is generally not the case. So let's kind of get into it. So we'll talk about this individual client who had, 2 weeks of weigh-ins, and it seems like that weight kind of stalled. And this is what I tell each individual client that we need to do. All right. So let's say we have 2 weeks of data, 2 weeks of weigh-ins, and the scale really hasn't moved all that much, because that's kind of number one, is making sure that we have a good amount of data. Because you see people like, oh, my weight loss plateaued, and then you look into their data and it's like 3 days. That's normal, okay? Even a week, like I've had some clients, for whatever reason, it seems to come off in chunks. So it's like nothing moves for 3 to 5 or 6 days, and then they lose a chunk. So just because it's been 3 or 4 days, give it a little bit more time. I totally understand we all want to see weight loss every single day, but first and foremost, weight loss is never going to be linear. It does not work like that because of fluid and all these other things, glycogen, et cetera, et cetera. So it's probably going to be doing this, but notice that my finger is kind of trending down, all right? So this is why personally, I recommend doing weigh-ins almost every single day, and taking the average weight of the week and comparing it to the next, comparing it to the next, comparing it to the next. And this is why, again, if you know me, I jump around a lot. I've had clients give me kickback on this one because they're like, I don't like doing the weigh-ins every day because I get discouraged and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it's your methods, it's your expectations and things that are getting discouraged. It's not the weigh-ins every day. Because I can make a better argument on getting discouraged from weighing in once a week as opposed to every single day. And it's as such. If you weigh in once a week, just say every single Monday, like I was just telling you, weight loss is not linear. So you're going to have spikes throughout the week. So let's say Monday weigh-in, 150. I don't know. I'm just going to take that number. And then you have these other ones, 149.8, 149.6, 149.7, 149.5, 149.2, 149.5, 149.1. And then let's just say you hit a fluctuation of 151. Because for whatever reason, again, you had more water that night, you had a saltier meal, blah, 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 a little bit higher carbs and stuff like that. You do that once a week weigh-in at 150.2, even though that was your highest peak of the week, that high spike, you're gonna think, oh, this isn't working, and you're gonna get discouraged. Whereas if you did every single day, you would have saw that you're trending down and that you actually are making progress. So this is why I try to coach. Step on the scale, log it, get the fuck off. That's it. Step on the scale, log it, get the fuck off, okay? Don't dwell, don't whatever, compartmentalize, move on. It's just data. It's just data points. That's it. Log it, boom, move on. Okay, that's it. So, kind of side tangent there. This is why I recommend more frequent. It doesn't have to be daily, but I try to say minimum of 3, probably ideally, 5+ weigh-ins so we can get a good average weight, and then we're going to compare it to the next. So let's just say we have 2 or 3 weeks of data and it's been pretty stalled. So the first thing that we need to do, and this is another frustrating and can be hard thing from a coach perspective. We need to audit what is going on from both an input and an output. These are the most important variables here. What are we putting in our body in terms of calories and things like that, and how much activity are we getting? And activity is a combination of NEAT, so non-exercise activity thermogenesis, so just general kind of movements, and then like steps, workouts, any additional cardio that you're doing and stuff like that. We are fucking accountants at the end of the day, and we're checking in on these numbers and all the different variables that will, be the sum of all these numbers of input and output. All right, so, but I can tell you with certainty, dude, at 90, 95, 98, 99% of the time when people plateau, It's because adherence just starts to slip. So this is always the number one thing I want to look for, all right, when we're talking about weight loss and did you actually plateau? What happens is whether it's you're following macros, calories and protein, a meal plan, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But generally what happens in the beginning is we're fired up, okay? We're motivated. Everything's down to a T. We're weighing things down to the fucking gram. We're not eating out much. We're controlling variables. If we do have swaps or whatever, we're making sure it's totally on point. We're not adding additional snacks. We're not eating out. We're not adding any additional liquid calories or drinks or things like that, okay? We're strict for the first couple weeks, for the first couple months, all right? And then what generally starts to happen, we start slipping a little bit, okay? Well, I can eyeball some of this stuff. Well, you know, a meal out here or there, you know, like one cookie can't hurt, a couple additional pretzels, whatever. It all adds up, you know? So, and I've had clients, hey, well, what if I add, you know, some creamer in my coffee or whatever? I'm all for it. Do we need to modify? You know, if I add 50 calories here and there, do I need to modify anything? And it's like, it depends because, it all adds up. So if you're only adding a little additional calories on top of whatever your goal is, then it will only affect it a little bit. But if a little bit plus a little bit plus a little bit equals a lot of it. So if we do that, then it starts going to really interfere with this, you know, a caloric exchange of input and output, you know. And it's the same thing, again, I always give analogies to finance because there's so much similarities to finance. It has the same, you know, overarching principles when you're trying to save money as it does to when you're trying to save calories and things like that. We also ironically tend to have a hard time with this. I mean, there's a reason why we are fat and poor for the most part. Don't mean to be mean, but just statistically that's true. You know, we have a hard time budgeting, all right? Why is that? Because we're surrounded by things we like to eat and we're surrounded by things we want to buy. We're bombarded by marketing and stuff like that. So yes, there's a lot of parallels with finances. So yes, the same thing with finance. You tell your account, well, okay, well, what if I just get an energy drink from 7-Eleven, some pretzels? Will that affect me from buying a house, you know, next year? And it's like, well, if it's just that, I mean, not really. What is that, an extra $6? But if you continuously do that, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, then it adds up to something that is fairly considerable, okay? So it's the same thing. So when a client comes to me that's plateaued, thinks they plateaued, that's the first thing we're gonna look at. We're gonna really audit what is going on in their body and what they're burning, essentially, input and output. And this is a hard one because the last thing I want is for my clients to think I'm calling them a liar or something like that, because it's not like, although I have had people, and this really bothers me, that consciously are just lying. And it's annoying. It's like, I don't get this. I don't know if it's a weird ego protection, but this is like the number one thing I tell my clients, like, I need you to be honest with me. I'm not your parent. You're not going to get grounded for this one. And if I don't have like a very clear understanding of what's going on, then how do I help? So please do not lie to me. Because what some people will be is like, oh, I fit this into my macros. They'll go on MyFitnessPal and look for the lowest calorie chicken burrito. And they'll find one that's like 200 when it's like, dude, you got a Chipotle burrito that's 1,200 calories. Come on. Like that shit bugs the hell out of me because it's like, if you can't even be honest with yourself, what is going on? So anyway, let's say that's not what's going on, which a majority of the time that's not what's going on. They just don't realize these little things that add up. Oh yeah, I did eyeball that. So that's where it's like, be entirely honest with your coach, please, because this is the only way that we can help you. But yes, 90% of the time, we generally don't need some sort of caloric intake or output intervention, meaning increase cardio or decrease calories. We just need to work on adherence a little bit more to get what we're actually aiming for. So if it's 2,000 calories, we start slipping, get up to 2,400 calories, we need to go back down to 2,000. And I think this is also why there's so many myths around what people think you need to eat in terms of calories in terms to lose weight. That's why people think, oh, I eat 1,400 calories and you don't lose weight. Yeah, you will. Like there's so many myths. Like I've worked with people that are, I don't like to, but 250, 300 that think 1,800 calories they're not losing weight. I'm like, it just does not work like that. Your metabolism is not broken. That's not what's going on. It's just what you think you're eating and what you're actually eating. There's just a wild disparity between the two. So you see that a lot too, and then sometimes the coaches will bring down calories. So meaning I say, all right, let's go to 1,400 when in reality they're eating 1,800. Okay, let's go to 1,300 when in reality they're eating 1,700 or whatever. You see this time and time again. So they assume they think they're eating 1,300 when in reality they're eating 1,800. Who's to blame? Is it them? Is it their coach? I have no idea. But anyway, let's look at adherence. Be as honest as you possibly can. Please, 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 please. We're doing these audits. What are we putting in our body? And then how many calories are we burning? And then from there, we will decide if we need to intervene from either side of the scale there, which sometimes you do. At some point in this journey, you will generally have to either drop calories or increase a daily energy expenditure, but it's usually not for a while. So if you think you plateaued at week 2, I guarantee you just need to look at adherence. But it is hard because again, when we're looking at this umbrella of adherence, first off, the only way to really know what you're eating, it is by tracking everything down to the gram. Every single thing you put in your body down to the gram. And even there, there's gonna be a margin of error because there's a margin of error that you're allowed to get away with just on the calorie pyramid, whatever the thing, on the back of the food. Okay, which already makes it freaking confusing. If it's under X amount of grams, then you don't even have to put calories for it, et cetera, et cetera. So even if you weigh everything down to the gram, find the exact product on MyFitnessPal, you might already be off by a bit of calories, okay? So keep that in mind. So whenever anyone's like, well, I have a general idea. No, I'm not weighing food, but you don't. So, and I'm not saying you have to be neurotic with this for weeks and months and months and months and months and months and months at a time, but if you think you plateaued, let's take a really good look at what we're putting in our body, weighing everything out to the gram just so we can be so specific and anal about it. And then let's look at the output side too, which that's another hard one because there's a giant margin of error in these activity trackers as well too. So this is where it's so hard. And finances are much easy because it's objective. You generally know exactly what you're making and what's going out, and it's very, very easy now with technology and tracking and stuff like that. So food can be entirely tricky. So just knowing that even if you weighed everything by the gram and then you tracked every single thing, you might still be a margin of error. You'll start to kind of understand why this equation becomes hard and why there is so many people that think and assume that they need to eat 400 calories to lose weight when that's not true. And just for everyone out there, generally they say the body weight multiplied by 10 in calories is actually pretty damn aggressive. So if I'm 180 pounds, that's 1,800 calories, which I'm about 185. 1,850 is so damn low for me. I never go below like 2,000 or so. So if you think body weight times 10 won't get you to lose weight, again, it's just your tracking and your auditing that needs some work. All right, I'm gonna end this here because I'm 13 minutes and I'm just rambling about basically nothing at this point in time. But the whole point with a lot of these discussions is just to start having people kind of understand the different variables and where things can go right, where things can go wrong and stuff like that, and what to do when we do feel stuck. Because I see time and time again, and I was just talking to my client about this morning, where it's just people hit one roadblock, one hurdle, and then they just get discouraged and want to give up. And I hate it. And this is one thing I feel like I do a great job with my coaching is having a good understanding of this and being able to catch it before it happens with my clients. Because again, we do these daily, weekly, monthly audits on how are we feeling? How do we feel like progress is going? How do we assume that progress should be going? And are those running parallel? Are we managing expectations? Are we feeling good about this? Are we feeling successful? Are we getting wins, gathering wins throughout the week and stuff like that? This is so very important. So please, if you hit a plateau, do not get discouraged. This is part of the journey and it's gonna happen a lot, okay? Keep going, keep pushing forward. Let's do an audit. Let's take an honest look at what we're putting in our body and then kind of general activity that we're getting, and then we'll kind of decide. But I promise you, for most of you out there, if you feel like you plateaued, I think we just need a little bit more work on adherence. All right, I'm gonna leave you with that. Like, comment, subscribe, and if anyone needs help with this, I'm gonna start set up like these kind of discovery calls with people where I'm just kind of discussing fitness goals, where I can come in and see if coaching is right for them or it's not. I need to figure out a way to kind of market this and how I wanna do it, because I would like to do it for free, but also life is just expensive. But just where we just kind of discuss things in general, and then I can help kind of funnel them in a direction that does not necessarily mean me. That's kind of where I want to be, this weird fitness consult facilitator of where should you start, where should you go, where I'm able to kind of compartmentalize and separate my bias towards my coaching, because I do feel like I have this fiduciary title of like, where should we, again, push you in which direction? If it's not with me, it's not with me, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, that's it. 15 minutes. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. If there's a topic you want me to touch on, leave it down below. All right. Thanks, guys.